Hello, welcome back. So today I've got a tag video for you, and this is the second volume of this tag that I'm doing. So this is the 10 Untouched Books tag created by Rainier Books. And I was tagged by Alan at Alan's Reads, and on my first one I did 10 fiction, 10 novels. I think they were all novels. And on this one I am doing nonfiction. So I'm going to read the prompt here. There is only one prompt. Present 10 books from your shelves that have been there at least a year or more and present them. This is about creating awareness to read from your shelves, enhance sustainability, and maybe even saving some bucks. So I talked about this last time. I don't particularly worry about the sustainability of my book buying habit because I only buy used books. So the way I look at it, I'm saving them from being thrown in the dump, saving them from being recycled. And just, this is recycling. Buying used books is recycling. And I kind of feel like I am the caretaker of these books for a while. And I don't buy new books. It's just not something that I do. Both because I'm not all that interested in new books, contemporary books. And that's not really anything against them. I tend to have tastes that are slanted towards the older style of writing rather than the more contemporary books. And let's see, and maybe even saving some bucks. So the thing is, like I said before, I only buy used books, and they're usually $2 or $3 or $1.50 or $1. So I don't really spend a lot of money on books, even though I have quite a lot of them, which, I mean, it does add up over time. But I've also, these books, I didn't get these books in a day. I have been buying books since I was about 11 or 12. I mean, really buying books and reading books and getting books. I've been reading for longer than that. I've been getting books for longer than that. But that's when it really became something that I did regularly, something that I started to really look forward to, and it became a part of my life. And I was blessed. I was raised by my grandparents, and my grandmother would buy me whatever books I wanted. And new books, used books, that's one of the things which I'm very grateful for, is that she was willing to do that for me, to buy me the books that I wanted and what I was interested in. And she really liked encouraging me to read. I think that she had hopes that I would become like a doctor or a lawyer or something important and well paid. But anyway, that's sort of incidental. I'm getting off topic. I'm sorry. So anyway, when I save some money by buying used books, or when I spend my $2 or $3, the trouble, like I said, is when I save some money, I spend it on books. So, saving money, buying books, it's all part of one continuum for me. But anyway, I'm rambling. This is the nonfiction version of this tag. So the last one was all fiction, and I'll leave a link to it in the description. And this one is all nonfiction. So let's get to it here. So the first book is by Dayton Duncan. It is Miles from Nowhere: Tales from America's Contemporary Frontier. And there is Dayton Duncan. And the price sticker I didn't take off, which shows $1.99, just like I said. Let's see. Now this is not actually it's an actual blurb from a newspaper. So here we go. In 1990, a century after the Census Bureau's famous observation of the frontier's imminent end, Dayton Duncan set out in an aging GMC Suburban to visit a large sampling of counties outside Alaska that have fewer than 2 persons per square mile, the Bureau's old standard for places still in a frontier condition. There are 132 such counties. All are in the West. The result of his tour is an insightful and entertaining book, troubling and funny and consistently illuminating. So I won't read all that because it is a blurb from a newspaper, and that doesn't really seem right on my to quote somebody else's blurb. Uh, but this just seems really interesting. I mean, counties with less than 2 persons per square mile. And this is from the early 1990s. Let's see what year this was published. 1993. So this book is as old as I am. And there are pictures. That's neat. And it makes you wonder, you know, where are these people now? Are they still alive? Are they still living in these counties? You know, it seems kind of wild that there could be less than 2 persons per square mile in a county. And in the West, a lot of counties are very, very big. Yeah, so that's interesting. Let me make a space here. Okay. Next we have The Sabres of Paradise by Leslie Blanch. This is the magnificent account of the people of that exotic land, the Caucasus. Their heroic leader, Shamil, and their courageous 30-year fight to stem the tide of Russian imperialism. It is also a history of 19th century Russian expansion that does much to explain the Russian character and the foreign policy of the modern-day Soviet Union. But above all, it is the incredible story of one man, Shamil, who personifies freedom fighting single-handed against autocracy and tyranny. I sure hope I pronounced his name right. I probably did not, and I apologize for that if I didn't. As always, if I mispronounce something, please feel free to correct me politely and respectfully in the comments. So this is from 1960. Yes, 1960. This edition is from 1995, but this book is from 1960. So, yeah, that just sounded really interesting to me. Unfortunately, it is cracked, and I don't know. You know, I recently bought a really nice hole punch, made a video about it if you're interested. And I bought it specifically so that I could take books like this that are cracked and cut off the spines and punch them and put rings through them and save them. But one thing I'm noticing is that the text is so close to the binding in some of these books that if I punch them, I'm going to be punching through the text. So I've yet to, I really need one of those paper guillotines, you know, like the teachers use the giant like machete thing in the room, to try that, because to do it with scissors or to do it with like a razor would just be kind of hard. Once again, I'm rambling. Apparently today is the day of rambling. I apologize. I know some people enjoy rambling, but if you don't, I'm sorry. Here is Beards. And look at that cover. Beards by Reginald Reynolds. Let's see here. Let's see if I can keep these. Beards is an entertaining treatise on the history and lore of men's principal facial adornment. It begins with the Garden of Eden, proceeds to the golden age of beards, the Victorian era, and moves on into our own century, when beards are having a renaissance once again. Among the countless aspects of beards investigated here are the taboos and dangers of barbering, insult and punishment through the cutting of beards, the linking of hair with sin, and of beards with radical politics. I don't know, I just find this, I mean, it's crazy how a beard could signify so much. The mystical significance of beards, the beard as a mask, the horrors of Sunday shaving, Abe Lincoln's beard, prayers for shaving, false beards, the legend of Bluebeard, and beards in the Second World War. Naturally, beards cannot be discussed without including the mustache, which has had its own ups and downs. So I bought this like 3 or 4 years ago, and I just thought that was really neat. I might have even bought this longer than that ago. A academic study from 1949 of beards. I mean, there was a while where I was really interested in microhistories, and I think this might have been, I might have picked this up during that time. So what I haven't really told anybody, I haven't really had any reason to. So when I was about 22 or 23, I grew a complete Nicholas II beard with the mustache. Like my mustache came out to like here, and I had the full beard. Was it Nicholas II or Nicholas III? Let me look. It was Nicholas II. There was not a Nicholas III. Let's see. Is there a good picture of him? But I did. I grew out the complete beard. I had to clip it every day. I had to wax it. I had to style it. I had to shave my cheeks. I had to shave my neck every day. So this one is Nicholas II. This is George V. They were cousins, and I probably look more like George V than I did like Nicholas II. So I don't know really what was going on in my mind when I did that. Let's see if I can get it closer. Yes, but I had the full beard and mustache combo, and it was a serious hassle. And I don't know why I did it. It was just something that got in my head, and I did it. And it was really after that whole hipster beard mustache thing, which, to be fair, I wasn't really going out a lot at the time, so I think that was probably why I could get away with it, because there was really nobody to know. All right, anyway, we have talked long enough about my beard and beards by Reginald Reynolds, which actually it sounds really interesting. The next is Awakenings by Oliver Sacks. So this is about something that I find absolutely terrifying. This is about sleeping sickness. And yeah, that's very scary if you've never heard of it. So let's see. Awakenings is the remarkable account of a group of patients, this is all nonfiction, by the way, of a group of patients who contracted sleeping sickness during the great epidemic just after World War I. Frozen in a decades-long sleep, these men and women were given up as hopeless until Dr. Sacks gave them the then-new drug L-Dopa, which had an astonishing, explosive awakening effect. Dr. Sacks presents the moving case histories of these individuals, the stories of their lives, and the extraordinary transformation they underwent with his treatment. So sleeping sickness is absolutely terrifying. I don't think they ever figured out what caused it, but some people slept and some people were frozen. So they could move, but extremely slowly. And when we mean extremely slowly, like they might take an hour and a half to put their hand on their head or something like that. And it lasted 40, 50 years. It's just terrifying. I mean, it seemed to have come out of nowhere and affected these people, and then it vanished, but it left them in its wake. And Dr. Sacks used L-Dopa, and it helped some of them. It made some of them, I mean, you have to imagine, so imagine if you wake up one day and you think it's 2025, but it's actually 2068. So that would be terrifying. That is a scary, scary disease. So the next book is a time book. It's very fragile, and hopefully I will be able to save it with that hole punch, because I don't think I can read it in this condition it's in. It is cardboard. It is extremely fragile. I mean, when I bought it, this was still attached, and it just snaps and breaks off. And if you open it too wide, it'll just break and fall apart. And so I'm hoping I can punch it and save it. The book is Saints and Strangers by George F. Willison. And we have to go to the interior here to find out what it is about. So it is from 1945. Well, I missed it. There's like a frontispiece or... Okay, Saints and Strangers by George F. Willison. Being the lives of the Pilgrim Fathers and their families, with their friends and foes, and an account of their posthumous wanderings in limbo, their final resurrection and rise to glory, and the strange pilgrimages of Plymouth Rock. So I have a couple of these time books, but they are very fragile. They're supposed to be really good. I have read one, and it was called Bring Out Your Dead, about yellow fever, and it was really good. And there are more, and I don't have all of them, but I have several of them, and I would really like to read this. I don't know a whole lot about the Pilgrims, to be honest, just what they taught us when I was in elementary school, and that was, I bet that was in 2000 when they taught us that, so it's been a minute. And I mean, I've learned things about the Pilgrims and their dealings with the Native Americans and things, but I've never read a book about it. Is what I'm trying to say. I know there's one by Nathaniel Philbrick, who wrote this book, Way Offshore. I think it was called Mayflower, but I haven't read it. I read a book by Nathaniel Philbrick, though. It was, is he the one who wrote the book about the whale that smashed the ship that Moby Dick was based on? Like the whale ship Essex. I don't remember the name of that book, though. Okay, we're getting off topic again. Here is Ernest Shackleton's The Heart of the Antarctic. Every now and then I just want to read a book about the Antarctic. I don't know why. True book, nonfiction, true book, nonfiction. A nonfiction book, a novel, it doesn't matter. Sometimes I just want to read something about the Antarctic. And I don't know why. Or the Arctic. I have no desire to go to either one. I don't really like being cold. I don't mind winters, but being in a place where it's cold all the time, I don't think I would like that. So let's see. This is written by Ernest Shackleton. I think I already said that. In 1907, veteran Antarctic explorer Ernest Shackleton launched an attempt to reach the South Pole. It was a trek into the vast unknown and a supreme test of man's endurance in the most hostile environment on Earth. The party encountered obstacles from the start as the overloaded Nimrod was tossed in the icy, turbulent waters. But Shackleton and his men succeeded in ascending the 13,000-foot volcanic Mount Erebus, reaching the magnetic South Pole and penetrating deeper into the continent than anyone had before. They defied death every step of the way, traversing crevasse-riddled glaciers, facing constant exhaustion from short rations, combating snow blindness, sub-zero temperatures, and sudden blizzards, and hauling hundreds of pounds of supplies over the frozen wasteland after the death of their Manchurian ponies. Then, only 97 miles from achieving the dream, Shackleton and his party had to abandon their quest and execute a desperate forced march to reach the Nimrod before its departure date, or face being marooned on the ice. So I also have Shackleton's book on the Endurance Expedition. It's either, I think it's right, no, it's not either, it's up here. So I have since built a new shelf. I didn't really build a new shelf. I took a board and I stuck it on top of that. And then I moved all of my books about boats and airplanes right here. And the Endurance is a boat. So that's where it went. And it went with this one because they're the same basic paperback. And I just stuck them together. Even though they're not really about being on the ships. Well, the Endurance is. I read that book, Endurance. I don't remember who that's by. There's a book about the Shackleton expedition on the Endurance. And that is a fantastic book. You know what? If I remember, I will stick the right here because that's a really good book. Let's keep going. Here is Beyond Theology, The Art of Godmanship by Alan Watts. I've read several books by Alan Watts. I like his books. I don't always agree with Alan Watts, but I enjoy stepping out of the normal perception of day-to-day life into Alan Watts's idea of, I can't even begin to explain his ideas. I think they're very interesting. Our normal sense of the person as a lonely island of consciousness, Alan Watts maintains, is a dramatic illusion based on theological imagery. In a global contest that includes both Eastern mysticism and modern science, the meaning of this imagery inevitably changes, and man is prepared for that experience of the unity of self and cosmos, which alone can preserve him from becoming merely the destroyer of nature. So that's Beyond Theology, The Art of Godmanship by Alan Watts. Hopefully that'll be really interesting. Usually his books are pretty good. I'm not always in the mood for them, though, and that's why it's been on my shelf for quite some time. So the next book is The Pope Who Quit, A True Medieval Tale of Mystery, Death, and Salvation by John M. Sweeney. This is about Celestine V, I think. At the close of the tumultuous Middle Ages, there lived a man who seemed destined from birth to save the world. His name was Peter Moroni, a hermit, a founder of a religious order, and, depending on whom you talk to, a reformer, an instigator, a prophet, a coward, or a saint, and possibly the victim of murder. A stroke of fate would, practically overnight, transform this humble servant of God into the most powerful man in the Catholic Church. Half a year later, Celestine V would become the only Holy Father in history to abdicate the chair of St. Peter, an act that nearly brought the papacy to its knees. What led him to make that decision and what happened afterward would be shrouded in mystery for centuries. The Pope who quit pulls back the veil of secrecy on this dramatic time in history and showcases a story that involves deadly dealings, apocalyptic maneuverings, and papal intrigue. The next book is Arabian Sands by Wilfred Fessinger. And so, from what I understand, this is his trek across the empty quarter in Saudi Arabia, I think. And let's see, he was with the Bedouins, I believe. I'm not entirely sure, and of course it's not going to help me because there's really no... All it says is a record of his many journeys through the parched, empty quarter of Arabia. So I have heard that his book, The Marsh Arabs, is really good. And I've heard this is really good. I don't know why I haven't gotten to it yet. So the next book I did try to read when I got it, it is Battle for Way by Keith William Nolan, Tet, 1968. And there's a picture on the back of some Marines in Way. And Keith William Nolan wrote several books like this. He wrote, I know he wrote Into Laos, he wrote The Siege of Firebase Marianne, and he wrote, I want to say Operation Ripcord with the Screaming Eagles in Vietnam. I think it was called Operation Ripcord. It may have just been called Ripcord. That's a really good book. And he actually wrote this when he was a teenager. So he was only, I'm not even sure, I think he was 17 when he wrote this. In 19, well, let's see, I guess he was a little bit older. Let's see, Nolan Keith William, born 1964, copyright, this book's copyright 1983, so he was 19. Maybe probably 18 when he wrote this, maybe not. So house by house and block by block, the Marines achieved their objective. It was an agonizing push to get the entrenched, well-supplied enemy out of the imperial city. Courage and daring and that great sense of camaraderie for which they are renowned finally won. It was a brutal, month-long fight, epitomizing the difficulties the grunts endured during the whole war. The battle for Way has never been detailed beyond a few paragraphs and pages. Most of the Vietnam War accounts have been of jungle fighting. This book fills a gap. The author refused to believe many of the disparaging flip charges made against the Vietnam veteran: drugs, desertion, unnecessary killing, and set about interviewing returned... Hang on just a second. I gotta move something. I'll show it to you in just a moment, but I have to move it. It's clinging to the film. Veterans, 36 to be precise, studying the literature, researching documents, and wrote his book to show what the American grunt went through in Vietnam. It is a remarkable achievement, detailing the battle from treasury to post office, from the high school to the church, over the soccer field and to the Capitol, finally to the Citadel and the Imperial Palace. There were moments of relief and humor, but rarely of peace or safety. What Keith Nolan found in his research was a revelation, and he presents it vividly and coherent to the reader. He also collected many action photographs from his sources and makes them likewise available. This is a first book, but Mr. Nolan has written articles which have been printed in Leatherneck, Soldier of Fortune, USNI Proceedings, etc. He writes a compelling war story, accurate in detail, and personalized by the participants. And there was something in this book when I got it that personalized it for me, or really brought it home to me in a way that, no matter how many times you read books like this, it's important to remember that there are real human beings involved in books like this, and wars hurt a lot of people. They hurt a lot of people involved in the combat, on the outskirts of the combat. They hurt a lot of civilians. They hurt a lot of people back home. And so what I found in this book, and the reason I didn't read it was because I found this. And yeah, that hit me really, really hard. So what it says is, Michael Barry Turner, Private First Class, 1st Battalion, 5th Marines, 3rd Marine Division, United States Marine Corps, 6th April 1948 to 18th February 1968, Decatur, Georgia, Panel 40E, Line 14. Tua Tien, South Vietnam, 2/11/68, Start Tour, Casualty Date 2/18/68, Sniper, Small Arms Fire, which means that he was in country for 7 days, and he was 19 years old when he was killed, right? And yeah, that just really hit me very hard because it put a human face on it, and I just wasn't able to finish, or I wasn't able to start, really. So I have been to the Vietnam War Memorial, the wall, a long time ago. I was in 8th grade. Okay, and the last book is The Adventure of Self-Discovery by Stanislav Grof, and it's not about what you think it's about. It's not about what you think it's about. Dimensions of Consciousness and New Perspectives in Psychotherapy and Inner Exploration. I used to read a lot of psychology books and sociology books. I mean, I read a lot of them, starting when I was a teenager and progressing up until I was about 30. I haven't really read any in a couple of years, but I think I got from them what I needed. But I still have some sitting around, and this is one of them. Here, Grof presents a useful model of the psyche, a model extended by his 30 years of studying non-ordinary states of consciousness. It is useful for understanding such phenomena as shamanism, mysticism, psychedelic states, spontaneous visionary experiences, and psychotic episodes. The model is also useful in explaining the dynamics of experiential psychotherapies and a variety of socio-political manifestations such as war and revolution. This book might have been entitled Beyond Drugs. The second part describes the principle and process of the non-pharmacological technique developed by the author and his wife Christina for self-exploration and for psychotherapy. Grof explores in detail the components of this technique. He describes its method, its effective mechanisms, as well as its goals and potentials. Its practice is simple since it utilizes the natural healing capacity of the psyche. So I bought this quite some time ago, and I ordered this. This is one of the last books I ever ordered. It's been probably 6 or 7 years ago, and I didn't realize that it was about, you know, what it's about exactly. I thought it was about something else, but I still would like to read it. My interest in, you know, using drugs for psychological growth has passed me by quite some time. Anyway, that is the last book on our list, The Adventure of Self-Discovery by Stanislav Grof. So, all right, that is the end of this second volume of this tag. So that is the 10 Untouched Books tag created by Rainier Books, and I want to thank Rainier Books for creating this tag. Forgive me, I don't know his name. I should have looked, and I apologize for not looking. And I was tagged by Alan at Alan's Reason. I want to thank Alan for tagging me, and I want to thank you for sticking with me during this video. I know it's pretty long, and I want to thank you for watching, and thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.